Young and the Restless Spoilers reveal that as Nate begins working with Victor Newman, he learns something very important: the man is not trustworthy. Although Victor is an icon in the Genoa City business world, what Nate witnesses makes him question the billionaire's integrity. Victor's dealings always seem to involve a shady side that Nate can't ignore. Nate, a man who values principles and transparency, can't understand how Victor can operate in such a shady environment. Even with all the credibility Victor has built over the years, Nate still feels that something is not right with the way Victor handles his deals. This feeling becomes even stronger when he notices a special relationship between Victor and Audra Charles, a woman Nate has never really trusted. Audra, one of the most powerful and mysterious figures in Genoa City's financial world, has always made Nate feel uneasy. She always appears confident and proud, but behind that lies a mystery that Nate cannot explain. Ever since Victor and Audra began working together, things have become even more shady. Nate realizes that Victor used Audra in the past, and now he can't help but suspect that once again, she is just a pawn in Victor's game. However, when Nate tries to investigate their relationship, Audra refuses to give any details about her new plans. She keeps everything a secret, and this makes Nate feel even more frustrated. Things are not as they seem. Nate has a feeling that Audra and Victor are working together on something that no one but them can understand. The more Nate thinks about it, the more he realizes that their target might be Kyle Abbott, one of the most influential people at Abbott Industries. Kyle and Victor don't have a good relationship, and if this plan really targets Kyle, it will be a huge shock to the Abbott family. When Nate accidentally overhears a conversation between Victor and Audra, he can't believe what he hears. It's a shocking secret. Audra and Victor are not only running a secret business together, but they also plan to manipulate the relationships within the Abbott family to achieve their goals. Their ultimate goal is not just money or power, but complete control over Abbott Industries. This leaves Nate feeling betrayed and confused, as he realizes that he might have fallen into a trap set by Victor all along. However, Nate is not one to give up easily. He decides not to let Victor and Audra continue to manipulate the situation. He needs to clear things up and protect his family from these devious plans. However, Nate knows that this will not be an easy fight. Especially since Victor is very skillful at hiding the truth and manipulating people around him. Being pushed into a difficult situation, Nate will have to face the truth that Victor, someone he once admired and thought he could trust, is the one behind the dark plots. Nate and Audra's relationship will also gradually become more tense as he learns more about what she is hiding. Nate will no longer be able to stand aside and must decide whether he should confront Victor, or continue to work with Audra and hope to find a way to foil their plans. Meanwhile, in Genoa City, eyes are constantly watching Victor and Audra's every move. Their every decision will send ripples through the worlds of business and family. And questions about Victor's true intentions will continue to haunt the city. This story is just beginning, and Nate will face difficult choices. Can he expose Victor's secrets before it's too late? How will the battle between power and truth end? The answer may come as a shock to all involved in the conspiracy. Audra's revenge and Nate's new relationship. Genoa City is full of intrigue and betrayal, and Audra Charles is one of those mysterious characters who constantly twists and turns every situation to achieve her goals. Nate, a man who has just entered this complicated world, begins to realize that what he knows about Audra is only a small part of the story. At the same time, Audra continues to carry out plans that no one can predict. And one of her targets is Kyle Abbott, a man she has never forgotten, not only because of the love she lost but also because of the pain he caused her. Nate is curious and Audra keeps secrets. Nate has not been able to stop thinking about Audra since she appeared in his life. She is a woman with deadly charm and a mysterious past that Nate cannot decipher. He was curious to know exactly what Audra was doing, especially since she kept dodging his questions about her work and the projects she was working on. It seemed like she was hiding a big secret, and Nate couldn't let that go. However, Audra didn't give him the chance to dig deeper. She quickly changed the subject or tried to avoid it in any way. Every time Nate felt he was getting closer to the truth, Audra skillfully slipped out of his grasp. That day, when they met at an event in Genoa City, Audra noticed that Nate was watching her more closely than ever. She sensed something was wrong when he kept approaching her and asking her about his plans. She turned to look at Nate, her eyes glinting coldly. "Nate, I don't think you should be so involved in my work," Audra said, her voice both firm and warning. "You won't get anywhere." Nate is not giving in. He wants to know everything, especially the secrets related to Victor, who is clearly having a great influence on Audra. However, the more Nate interacts with her, the more clearly he feels that Audra is not someone who is easily persuaded. She is used to hiding things, and she will not let anyone harm her plans. Audra and Kyle, the painful past. Audra not only wants to control everything in her work, but also in her personal life. Her relationship with Kyle Abbott used to be very good. They had sweet times together, and Audra once believed that Kyle was the one who could build a solid future for her. But all those dreams were shattered when Victor Newman, with his wisdom and power, intervened and caused them to break up. Victor used every trick in the book to pit Kyle and Audra against each other, and as a result, Kyle left Audra without hesitation. This left Audra feeling betrayed, and from there, she began to formulate plans for revenge. Even though Victor had taken away the love and life she had dreamed of, Audra did not seek to confront him directly. Instead, she focused on getting revenge on Kyle. She wanted Kyle to pay for what he had done to her, and she was willing to do anything to make him regret it. Nate discovers the truth. Nate began to realize that Audra was working for Victor again, but not in the same role she had previously played. She was no longer just a pawn in Victor's power game, but now she was actively manipulating things to achieve her goals. Nate noticed that Audra had started to lure Kyle back, trying to convince him that they could get back together and start over. But behind all those sweet words was a plot. Audra didn't just want Kyle back, she wanted to make him lose everything he had. She wanted to defeat him, and only this way would she feel like she had succeeded in getting her revenge. When Nate found out about this, he couldn't sit still. He knew that Audra was doing Victor's dirty work, but it kept confusing him. He loved Audra, but now, he couldn't stand by her when she was doing such wrong things. Nate couldn't accept that she was using Kyle's feelings just to achieve her own goals. Finally, as the truth began to come out, Nate had no choice but to confront Audra. He decided to call her out, to confront her about his wrongdoings. One evening at a quiet cafe in Genoa City, Nate and Audra sat across from each other. She looked at Nate with cold eyes, without any remorse. "Nate, what do you think you can do? You don't understand me at all." "I did nothing wrong," Audra said, her voice cutting through the air. Nate was unyielding. "You know what you're doing, Audra. You lied to Kyle and now you're trying to get him back just to make him suffer. You're playing a dirty game and I can't stand by you anymore." Audra tried to keep her cool, but the anger in her eyes was clear. "You don't understand, Nate. If it wasn't me, who would do this? No one else but Victor. And I have to do everything to get back what I lost." The relationship between Nate and Audra may end here. Although Audra may continue to pursue her plans, the truth about what she did will not be easily hidden. And Nate, after facing Audra's secrets, finally realizes that he must stand up for the values he believes in. Their story is not over yet, but this is a major turning point in Nate and Audra's lives. Unstable love and challenging relationships. Genoa City is not short of complex stories of love, betrayal, and power, and the story of Claire and Kyle is one of the city's most compelling romantic dramas. Their relationship is not just about love, but also about a fight against the interference of those around them, especially from Victor Newman, who always tries to control and manipulate everything around him. However, Claire and Kyle are not people who are easily manipulated, and their story is just beginning. Victor's intervention. Victor Newman, a powerful and calculating man, makes no secret of his dislike for Kyle Abbott. In his opinion, Kyle is unworthy of Claire, whom Victor considers a precious gem in this world full of intrigue. Victor has tried to drive them apart, by creating barriers between Claire and Kyle, causing Claire to fight constantly to protect her love. He gave Kyle some negative advice, trying to convince Claire that she shouldn't continue the relationship, because Kyle wasn't the one who could bring her lasting happiness. Although Claire understood that Victor was a powerful man, she couldn't accept his interference in her personal life. Her relationship with Kyle had been through a lot, and she believed that their love was strong enough to overcome any storm. However, Victor's determination made her feel anxious and insecure. The conversations between Claire and Victor became tense, as he constantly pressured her to give up Kyle. "Claire," Victor said in a powerful voice, "you can see everything I've done for this family. But Kyle? He's not the right man for you. You deserve someone better, someone who can truly bring you happiness." Claire looked straight into Victor's eyes, her gaze unwavering. "You have no right to decide my life, Victor. I know what I want. And I don't need you interfering with me and Kyle." Despite Claire's strong objections, Victor did not give up his plan easily. He was determined to separate them, and he would not stop until he achieved his goal. Claire's decision and Kyle's proposal. Despite Victor's pressure, Claire remained steadfast in her decision. She loved Kyle and wanted to build a future with him. After many conversations about the future, Kyle finally asked Claire to move in with him. One evening, as they sat down for dinner at home, Kyle looked at her with eyes filled with love. "Claire," he began, "I want you to move into the Abbott mansion. I think it would be a good place for us to start a new life. We'll have our own space, and I want you to feel comfortable around me." Claire heard Kyle's suggestion, and a feeling of sadness filled her heart. She had hoped that they would find a place of their own, a place where it would be just them, without the influence of their families or anyone else. Claire clearly remembered that she and Kyle had agreed not to live in any family's house, because she wanted them to be independent and build their own lives. Kyle noticed Claire's silence. He knew that this suggestion was not easy for her. "I don't want to force you, Claire. But I think this is an opportunity for us to have a fresh start. And if you feel uncomfortable, I understand." Claire looked into his eyes, feeling the conflict in her heart. She knew that Kyle only wanted the best for them, but she felt the lack of freedom living under the influence of the Abbott family. "You know, we agreed not to live in any family's house," Claire said, her voice a little sad. "I think we should find our own place, somewhere without any interference from our families." Kyle sighed, but he respected Claire's decision. "If that's what you want, I'll find another way for us to build our lives. But I just want you to know that you're important to me, and I want you to be happy." Internal conflicts. Claire couldn't help but feel a little sad when she heard Kyle's proposal. Although she understood that he just wanted them to have a happy life together, the presence of the Abbott family made her feel constrained. Her relationship with Kyle had gone through a lot of hardships, and living under his family's roof might be a big obstacle to the freedom she sought. She continued to think about Victor's words, about whether Kyle was really the right man for her. Victor's warnings about Kyle still haunt her, even though she knows that Victor may never understand her feelings for Kyle. Confrontation with Victor. After a long night of thinking, Claire decided to go see Victor to confront him. She couldn't let herself be intimidated by his words anymore, and she needed to clear things up with him again. When Claire entered Victor's office, he was sitting at his desk, and as soon as he saw her, he gave her a contemptuous smile. "Claire, I hope you've thought about my advice. Kyle is not the man you need, and you'll realize that when it's too late." Claire couldn't contain her anger. "Victor, I've made up my mind. I love Kyle, and I won't let you ruin my life. I don't need your advice on my love life." Victor looked at her, not hiding his disappointment. "I won't stop until you realize that I'm right. But anyway, you have the right to decide your own life." Claire and Kyle's relationship has come a long way, despite the challenges and interference from outsiders that still weigh on them. But in the end, Claire and Kyle have found a way to build a future together, unaffected by those around them. Although Victor continues to monitor their every move, Claire has learned to stand firm and protect her love. As the story ends, Claire and Kyle have found a place of their own, where it is just them and without any interference from their families or others. They have decided to continue on their own path, despite knowing that challenges and intrigue will always follow. But their love is strong enough to face it all.